right. Well, that time of night, it's all things landlord on the Alberta Landlord Shoptalk. Alongside me, Don up in Edmonton. Don, how you doing tonight?
Fantastic. And you?
Good, Don. Yeah. It's was it Fraud Awareness Month here in March, and Don and I were talking today on how we can kind of stay in theme with that, and it's pretty applicable in our market of tenant screening and on the eviction side with your business, Don. So I think we've got a handful of examples we can get into to help people avoid red flags. I guess identify, avoid the red flags and the predicaments of getting into fraud or spam techniques used by perhaps malicious tenants.
And four.
10-4. Okay. All right. Let's. Well, we're waiting for some people to kind of hop on and join. I always like asking you as Don, what's your average wait time right now from day of filing to day of hearing here at the RT DRS?
It's been 12 and 16 days, so 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's
Good.
been steady. Yep. It's
There's
been
our
great.
ticker. Okay. Adjust this. Yeah. So let's get into it. I think, we kind of let off the show there, and I kind of alluded to it on the thumbnail for the shop talk tonight was Interact e-transfers. They're quite popular. That's how I collect the majority of my rent is through Interact e-transfers. And you're discussing that you actually had a case where someone faked an Interact e-transfer.
3 cases.
3 cases. Okay.
Yeah, that's over the last couple of years. And what it is was the e-transfer, the tenants claim that they sent it. The landlord never received it. And so, I mean, the first hearing was quite interesting. We did a lot of groundwork and going to the banks and involved, and they were not helpful at all. And so through all, I found that there is at least one outfit online that will provide these things for you, including pay stubs and all kinds of goodies that look authentic. The last one I had, it was actually they sent 4 email transfers totaling $8,000, and they wanted the landlord to pay that back to them. The landlord never received a dime of that. So it turned out on that one they were deliberately changed the email address. They put in a period where it should have been an underscore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna kind of highlight as you're talking, Don, because I've seen that as well. And here's a popular one where this is just really good to be aware of it's quite easy to fake some of this information. So you've got one right here. It's Canadian pay stub. They've got all the correct calculations, the CPP, EI. If there's different tax levels at the federal level, and you can plug and change these numbers. And I had a landlord, this is a long time ago, shared this example, and the tenant that she had caught when she was doing a due diligence in the tenant screening said they worked at a pet store, and actually it was Petline. And she phoned corporate office and got to HR, and this person apparently never existed. And when she got looking closer at the pay stub that was provided to her, there was a faint watermark, and the prospective renter did not bother to pay the $2 or $3 to get the paid service, so they had a watermark of the fake pay stub on it, and that's how she discovered it. So there are lots of it. So So back to your example though. With the e-transfers, you had 3 cases. One, you were mentioning that they just faked an email. So was it they sent it after the fact and almost claiming that it was already sent to the landlord, even though the landlord had yet to receive it?
No, they actually had a what you get from when you send an email transfer, you get that
Email confirmation.
confirmation. So they had a confirmation made up. The first one, the confirmation wasn't very good. There's no date on it. There's several things missing. And of course, we went to the banks and stuff, and they wouldn't get involved at all. They just said it's not to do with us. Both banks
Mm-hmm.
in the receiving. So the bottom line is when we took her to the RTDRS, is that the tenant did not receive, or sorry, the landlord did not receive the money, and he provided his records for that bank records for that period of time, and there was no deposit. Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, another thing too is there's a difference between a screenshot and a real email.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if I can Google this too. Here's my IT bone coming out. Email header example. There we go. So I say Gmail. Whoops. Images. If someone's going to forward you an email, you want the whole. Here's a good example here. Does this work? You want the whole example of the email.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a header that you can break down and open up in your email. In hindsight, I should have had something prepared, but you'll see like the servers, you'll see a bunch of technical IT information that accompanies the message or the email that is actually processed and sent. If you don't get any of that header information when they forward it on, then it's that's a red flag there. Now, granted, one thing to keep in mind as well is depending on what email program you're using, some of them do remove some of the email contents when you do a forward or a reply. But there should be something. If it's just a straight screenshot, it's a picture, and there's no way to click and highlight the text, that would be your red flag that you don't actually have an authentic email. Sorry. Anyways, I like kind of highlighting talking about this.
Yeah, no, that's very good information.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they sent it. It didn't. The banks didn't do anything about it. So where did those cases actually end up? I think did you go to the yard and actually went to RTDRS too?
Yep, and all three cases, and it was all settled in the landlord's favor. The basic thing is that the tenant has to supply the money to the landlord on time, and so that means it has to be in his bank, otherwise it's not counted. So in all three cases we went. The first one took quite a while. I think we had about 4 hearings.
Oh wow.
4 episodes and they gave us tasks to do in between and to try and get to the bottom of it. But when we got at the end, it was just because the money was not there in the bank account. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah, that was the basic thing.
Yeah, look at the accounts. Okay. Yeah. So I'll add on to that. We've noticed at Single Key now, we've gotten. It was kind of interesting how this one came in. We had an unhappy customer. It was a landlord that was quite upset that we didn't pull an accurate credit report. They said, I have my tenant's information. They've given me their Equifax credit score, that because you can as an individual go and pull and you'll pay for it and you can get your credit score directly from Equifax. And it's fully in depth. It's quite long, number of pages, 10 or 12 or something like that. It lays out like every single piece of data that they have on you. And so he's like, your report's not accurate, doesn't work. So we're like, okay, well, show us this credit report. We'll take a look. Anyways, I've got some screenshots here. Let's see if I can pull them up for you guys. The tenant had altered their credit report. You know, of course, here we are, right, talking about fraud. So here's the first take on that. Let's see if I can make this bigger. There you go. There we go. For us visually impaired folks. Okay, so what we're doing here is when you get a file, whether it's PC or Mac, it won't matter. There's always a properties tab where you can get more information, and that information will tell you when it was last, like, in this case, when it's last open, um, who's the author. So that's usually whoever created the document. In this case, it should be Equifax or something similar. But we have here something called Canva, which is the tool I actually use. I can even show you my Canva right now. It's another one of those online software editing tools for creating editing different pieces of software. So here's how I created our thumbnail for our shop talk tonight. And this is Canva. So obviously it's not part of Equifax. What else? The encoding software. So they also use another piece of software here to annotate or modify the PDF to probably change some text. And it's I love PDF. Also, again, doesn't sound like it's similar to Equifax. So this is kind of ways that kind of tell you where some clues right here. And you can do this on any computer, which is super important. The next thing that was kind of a giveaway is we started looking at the actual report. So I've blown this up to really make the example clear, and we can even do it now. Don, what do you notice different here, other than I probably given away at the
You haven't got it on the screen here.
No? Oh,
No.
I'm talking to myself. You guys gotta keep me honest here. Okay.
Well,
shoot.
First thing I noticed is the font is different, and where you got your arrows pointing.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of more so to it, if I zoom in even more, it's weird how there's a white space here. There's a bit of a white one here. So they use like a paintbrush in, paint or something.
Oh, I see. Okay, I didn't see that.
some other similar program. See how it's, again, there's fuzzies around here, and all of a sudden there's nothing. It's perfectly white. And if you get even closer, there you go. You can see the paintbrush right there where they've erased it. So, so what you're looking for is just in the formatting. It's inconsistent. Something doesn't look right, because these are professional documents. If they're coming from Equifax or Single Key or another credit provider, they're going to be set up, and they're going to be high quality. So here you could clearly say that they've wiped out their information. They put in some fake dates because obviously the fonts are not matching at all, and also they don't leave blanks here. They usually have a line or a zero or an NA or something, and they've just completely edited out that document. So if we look at the last example here, this is that kind of same zoomed in section. Now you can see they just hid some information here. So yeah, really, I mean, we can talk about more of the red flags, Don, but the crutch of this whole thing in your job is, especially that we're in an online age here, and this is an area I really gravitate to, is you have to get information from a trusted source, whether that be directly from Equifax or Single Key, or, let's go into your example, Don, and how would you verify maybe an employer reference or a landlord reference from a tenant? Let's say they've given you an employer reference, and they have an employer name, an email, and a phone number provided on the application, and of course the business name. How would you approach that?
Well, first I would look up the business on Google and get that number, maybe a head office or it's a branch or whatever, and then I'd phone that number, not the number that they gave me, and find out if the guy worked there, and his salary range. They don't tell you as a rule exactly how much they make, but you say, is he in the $40,000 to $50,000 range, and they'll say yes or no, and that's gives you an idea. But I check everything. I don't accept what's written as the truth. I want to verify it. I never, when somebody brings me a credit report, I say thank you, but I run my own anyway if they look good otherwise. That's probably the last thing I do to, because that costs me some money. But I'll check everything else up first. Former landlords, I asked for the last one and the one before if I can get it. If it's more than 2 years, I don't worry about it. But if it's not a property management company or real estate company, I'll phone. And what I do is ask whoever answers the phone. I say, I hear you got something available to rent. What do we got? And if they don't know what the heck I'm talking about, then that tells me that it's a buddy of the tenant. And I don't go any further. Once I have something like that, it goes into file 13. I don't. They're going to lie. They're not the kind of people that I want to deal with.
Yeah, it follows that kind of a saying that I've picked up is that it's trust but verify.
Yeah,
Like, I'll take your word at face value, but I'm going to verify you give me the truth. And yeah, I mean, you can Google everything for sure, the different pieces of information on the form. But yeah, I think I've probably the most made mistake by especially new landlords, and I hear this so often is I did a background check and it came back perfect and ended up being, it was a bad tenant or it was a bad experience. They did this, they did that, didn't pay rent, damaged the property. It probably has to be the number one misunderstood technique that landlords should be using when they're doing their due diligence is the landlord check, and it's probably because they've gone and they've done the phone call, and they've propositioned or introduced themselves as a landlord, and they basically have queued up the person on the other end of the phone to be like, oh, okay, I better put my landlord hat on now. This is Buddy's landlord calling for that reference, and I'm going to help him out. And then they go and play the role of yeah, this person was perfect, paid rent on time, never damaged a place. I'm going to miss him. He even left me chocolates on the bed, kind of thing, or whatever they're going to kind of end it with, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, and we can have some fun with this, Don. I think we kind of already went here quickly, but do you want to do a little role playing? Let's do it two ways.
Always. Sure.
Yeah, we can do it the right way and the wrong way. So, do you want to do the phone call? How about I'll give you a call here? Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll do it in.
What am I?
You tell. Okay, so you can call me. I'll be the tenant, and you're calling.
Okay. So, tell me what the idea behind this is.
Yeah. Well, let's just do it the wrong way. Yeah. Do it. Let's do it the bad example. Then we can kind of show the right steps to correct it.
Sure. So I'm calling you and I'm asking you questions about.
You're a brand new landlord. You're excited to call me because you've got a great tenant and you're doing your reference checks.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Ring a ding ding.
Hello.
Hello. This MacKenzie?
Speaking.
Hi, MacKenzie. You applied for a place here in 108th Avenue. Your reference come back real good. You still interested in it?
Oh no! You got to be calling the I'm supposed to be the landlord. Sorry, I totally did.
Oh, okay.
I'm the landlord. You're calling on as you're doing the reference check.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's okay. We're a little rusty tonight.
I'm Ukrainian, I do things backwards.
Oh, all good. So let's do it this way. You're calling. You're a brand new landlord. I'm gonna be the fake reference. I'm Buddy's.
Okay. Oh, you're the fake reference. Okay. So the wrong way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Ring a ding ding.
Hello.
Hi. Is this MacKenzie Wilson?
That's my name.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yes. This is Don Gray. I got a former tenant of yours here that I'm checking up on. Can you tell me? Yeah, it's a Fred Blow there, Mr. Fred Blow. How was Fred? Was he a good tenant?
Fred was great. He paid rent on time. Didn't have any issues. I'm actually kind of sad to see him go.
Oh, did he keep the place clean?
Yeah, I had no issues. And then when I came by to do my inspections, place was always kept in a nice and tidy order.
Oh, so how come he's leaving you then?
Yeah, good question. I think he's just looking for a bigger space.
Oh, yeah, that's what he told me too. Yeah. Oh, that's great. So would you rent to him again?
Of course.
Oh, wonderful. I sure thank you for all that. Appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. Take care. There you go.
There you go.
So That is the stereotypical absolute wrong way to do it. You know, you want to come across professional and introduce yourself and the reason for the call. In most business situations, absolutely. In this one, absolutely not.
Right.
Is the complete opposite. So there's 3 ways we're going to do this. Like Don said, first part is how you start the phone call. You simply start out by asking about their rentals, and just be quiet, zip your lips, and see how they react. If you get a really awkward pause or stumble, you know, something's kind of up there, that's your red flag. If you're not quite convinced, then you continue on. And if they go, you know, what's this? I don't have any rentals or anything like that. And you go, oh, sorry, wrong number, or I must have the wrong number. And then you end the call, like you said, Don, file away. The next strategy here would be to ask open-ended questions. So once you get into, you've gotten past that kind of filter check, and then my name's MacKenzie, doing the landlord check here. The next step is, John wanted to rent from you. When did he move into your place? Let them answer that. You know, you're asking questions about the previous tenancy that only the landlord and the tenant would know. That's not common knowledge between probably the tenant's friends. So, you know, was utilities included in the rent? How much was rent? How was rent paid? Any of these little nuanced factors that generally the 2 parties would know that an outsider wouldn't. And you're asking open-ended, meaning you don't lead them on to what you want to hear. Let them answer it. And then the third way to do it is you change the information. So I go, hey, Don, John said he rented from you from February of 2022 to, you know, is June of last year, 2023. And Don goes, yep, that sounds right. And in reality, you have on paper that the person started their lease in April. And then you've got someone saying yes. If you change all these facts and they're still agreeing with you, you know, that's a red flag there. That's something to be concerned about. You know, there's a lot right there we just kind of threw out. I mean, if you really wanted to get really extreme, or we'll call it not thrifty, but like really kind of sneaky or more, I guess, advanced, you could get your spouse, if they're of the opposite sex, to, or not, I mean, of course, however they are, if they are the same or whatever. But I mean, if you've been having the conversation with the tenant, and if you're the female or the male, get the opposite sex to do the reference call, and then they're definitely not going to be expecting that. And again, you're just trying to catch them off guard if they're telling the truth or not the truth right off the hop there. So we can work that one out. Do you want to go through a quick kind of example?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Do you want to be the landlord doing the reference check? Do you want to be the receiver or the caller?
No, I'll be the receiver. That'll be more fun.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'm hiding things. Is that right?
Yeah, you're hiding things.
I'm not telling the full truth. Okay.
No, exactly. Okay, so it'll go ring, 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 ring.
Hello.
Hi there. I'm calling about your rentals.
Oh, yeah. What kind of rent are you looking for?
Oh, yeah. I just actually, you know what? One of your renters, I believe, might be calling me for, or it used to be your renter, and has just applied for one of my properties. Can I ask you a few questions?
Oh, what's this guy's name?
He just moved out. He said he rented from you from a while. Do you mind confirming the name?
Well, you didn't give me a name, sir.
I know. I was wondering if you knew it. No? Okay. It was John Smith. That's no problem.
John. Yeah. He was in item in number 2. Yeah.
Okay, number 2. So when did he move in and when did he move out? What was the term of that lease that he had with you?
Oh, he wasn't with me that long. I think he was. I think he started in January of 23, and he was with me till about August or September, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, and John had mentioned that you allowed pets in the rental.
No pets. I don't allow pets in my rental.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And you know, and so let's just kind of get to the basics. All rent was paid on time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Okay. And would you rent to John again?
Maybe if I had something available, maybe.
Okay. Oh, and one last question. What was the utilities that you charged John on his rental?
The only utility you had to pay was the power. And I don't know what that run, about $50 a month, I think it was roughly.
Oh, okay. And that was that was kept in John's name or was that in your name?
That was in my name, and that, yeah, and I give him the bill every month. Yeah, sometimes he, took a little while to pay that, but
Okay. Okay. Well,
usually got the
we can
utilities.
wrap up the role play in there. But yeah, like it's you can. Yeah, I kind of started out open ended. I'll say, we started off the phone call by not introducing myself and proposition the person to lie, kind of see how you reacted, Don, and you stumbled a bit, like okay, but then you went right into it. So I was like, okay, let's continue this on. I didn't say the renter's name. I was wondering to see if you knew about who it was, and keep in mind if you're talking to perhaps a mom and pop landlord that's got a few units, they're going to know all this information. If you get a large property manager, they're not going to know this information. So then you have to have a very different approach for that. They're going to typically, and they should require that if you've gotten written consent to do this background check, usually send your application in with that part signed off on the tenant's name to their main office or email. At that point, either someone will give you back, they might answer over email, or you'll just have a quick phone call. And that one would be more of the traditional route of introducing yourself and asking really the three main questions. Did they pay rent on time? Were they a nuisance? Did you have any concerns, complaints, anything you have to deal with? Damages? Would you rent to them again? Yes or no? Any other concerns I should be aware of? I usually like to wrap up with an open-ended one if I didn't ask something that might be in the tip of their tongue, give them the opportunity to speak about it. And then in the end of that conversation, what I was doing with Don was I was asking him point blank questions, and I said, hey, let's say John told me that rent or the utilities was included in his rent, or I kind of came across that with our viewing. I asked Don how much John paid for utility, or how much the utilities were paid for, even though they're already included in the rent. Or Don, did you have the utilities in your name, or how much did you pay for the utilities for John? So I try to almost lead with a kind of a lie that sounds normal. I asked him, yeah, how many pets did John have? Or he said he had 2 dogs and a cat, right? Is that what he had at your place, or things of that nature?
Yeah, and in my answers, I was trying to show that where I was hesitating was I was trying to tell you that I probably wouldn't rent him to him again. Like he wasn't that good. So
Yeah,
that's why I
well,
was
if
kind
you're
of
being the fake,
dragged that out.
you
Yeah,
were,
it's
yeah. I
something
was
you
like,
listen for.
yeah, I did catch that. I was like, well, you're supposed to be the fake over promising reference, but yeah, if it was like someone being truthful, you could have picked up on some of those hints, and probably that big part too is you want to get comfortable with being uncomfortable on the phone, and that's going to sound weird, but really what I'm getting with that is don't say anything. Be okay in that awkward silence, because the human nature
Mhm.
is to fill it, and they usually when they fill it, they over explain, provide information, and that's where you pick up on additional things that you perhaps would not normally hear, or you couldn't even legally ask for if they chose to disclose it. So
Yeah, and you're not supposed to. A lot of people don't know this. You're not really supposed to say anything negative
yes,
about when you do a reference. So
it can't be
um,
subjective. That's where you're going with that, right,
yeah,
Don? Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So
It was
it's how
damage, no
you.
damages.
Yeah. So you need to, if you're gonna pass a clue, you got to do it in your voice and hesitation and stuff like that. So yeah, the people understand it.
Yeah.
I picked that up from doing lots and lots of reference and getting answers like that. So yeah.
And one pro tip here too. And by the way, ask questions as you guys are watching. We just got one that came in here. Um, um, one landlord got burnt because she was the receiver. another landlord was doing a reference check, called her. She provided the information, and this person went back and told that tenant it wasn't favorable, and that tenant got very upset and got quite angry and combative with her current landlord. And so she's like, before I go and start anything, I said the caveat: will you share this information with the tenant? I will not provide you a reference if you do. And then, this is, confidential between you and me. Set that expectation so you don't get put into that crosshair kind of position. So that's a really good pro tip. I've not personally had to experience that yet, but.
And that's a clue right there. If it's, you're not going to repeat it, well, then you're going to hear something that's not good.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we've covered landlord reference. Like you said, with employment reference is you're, again, not taking the information off of the application. You're taking that business and Googling the main reception line and then getting transferred to the person that is listed on the application. Then for sure you're talking to someone that's legitimate at that business. Ideally, you've got emails with domains that are of a business. So it's not John Landlord at Yahoo or Gmail or hotmail.com, one of those kind of emails. It's MacKenzie at telus.com. It's a business email, or it's even better if you've got a property management company. So all those little kind of small things are important. What else? We've gone through.
A couple other red flags for me is if somebody's in a rush, that's usually bad news. They're pushing you and they need it right away. And, your natural thing is to try and help them, but that's often somebody being kicked out of one place and needing another place like right away.
Yes.
So that's
that's a great tip, Don. That's so important. Is you have your system and you don't change it for anyone. You do it consistently. You do your own process. Someone else's emergency is not your problem. It's not your emergency. I mean, it's unfortunate. You can be understanding and that's not sympathetic. What's the other way when you can be concerned?
Empathetic. Yeah.
Empathetic. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
And I've had lots of cases that come in where, they were told that their house burnt down and they wanted something in that area because their kids were in that area, going to school, that sort of thing. So they felt sorry for them and they give them the house.
Yeah.
And it turned out there was no house burnt down. And you can verify those kind of things. Call the fire department and the police, or look in the newspaper, Google that address, to see if there's anything that comes up on it. So you don't believe anything you hear, verify it.
Yeah. I've pulled title. I've had tenants sell a property and no rental. Yeah. So here's a good one. No rental history. I'm an owner going through divorce. I've sold my property. And it was old fact and true. I went and pulled title. It cost me $10, and I saw he just what do you call it? His legal name matched the name on title. Hadn't changed yet. And then he also gave me his purchase contract or his sale contract. I'm like, you can wipe out the information or whatever, but show me you've got a purchase contract signed recently. Okay, cool. You're telling the truth, and that worked for me. So okay, I'll come back with another one here. Here's a good one. This is more so to protect yourself from getting entangled in someone else's trouble. In a hot market, online people or fraudsters will take copies of someone's rental listing, reproduce it somewhere else, have it an unreasonably low rent. So let's say the rent in that area is going for $2,500, and this person might go make a fake rental ad, take someone else's legitimate photos, the text, the description, everything, but change the contact information and change the price to probably like, if it's $2,500, this is listed at $1,950. It's under $2,000. That almost too good to be true pricing. But what will happen is they'll, especially if a tenant's desperate, they need to find someone, they're perhaps on a tight timeline, they've gotten rejected a bunch of times. They'll go and do an e-transfer without even like sight unseen and get burnt then they'll lose their $2,000 damage deposit. So what you could do
There you
to
go.
protect yourself is, this is one of my rental ads. I've got a video at the beginning here, but it's all branded. And you don't even need to have a business or a corporation. You can just pick like a trade name or anything. It doesn't even have to be anything special. You could literally use your first name, last name. So mine's Living Space Rentals, and I've got embedded in on every image. I've got text as well. That's more of a marketing play to help people understand what's there. So here is again. Again, I've got text here because I don't have any furniture to give the context of the size. I've actually been playing around. I'm going to do a future shop talk on this and a webinar, how to use AI to furnish your property. It is very impressive how realistic it looks, and it does the job quite well for rental listings. But really the point here is you've got a logo embedded on everyone. It could be your name. It could be a phone number. You might have a Gmail, like, yycrentals@gmail.com, or I'm sure that one probably exists, but something like that. So there's literally tens of thousands of rental ads out there. And if they see text on that one, they're not even going to bother touching it, because they're going to find someone else's that has nothing on it that's easy to copy. They'll move on, and that will just prevent your ads from falling into that, being used to victimize someone else for rent fraud or damage deposit. And then the other thing happens is these people show up at the property, your tenant's calling you, and you're dealing with something, and it's probably on a Friday evening. It's usually not the most convenient time when these things happen. So, okay, cool. Let's pop that off.
You end up at the house with 12 other people, all thinking that they rented it.
Yeah.
None of them have.
And you're dealing with that headache just to kind of sort it out, when it's really, in reality, it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah. But you're the center of attention.
Yeah. So Don, I'll let you flip. What's another red flag and kind of fraud technique we need to be aware of?
Well, I had a case where in one of my units where I got an application from a guy in England, and he was coming over, and he had this job, and yada, and he sent me some money orders, and he said, down pay the security deposit and first couple of months rent, and he said it was money he got from the company that he over there, and he had to do it in lump sum. So he sent me this lump sum, which was more than, it was like $3,000 or $4,000 more than what. This is a few years ago, so that was a lot of money then. Anyway, something didn't seem right, so I took the money orders to the lady I know at my bank that I deal with all the time, and I gave them to her, and I said, "Can you check these out? Is there any good?" Well, 3 days later, she come back and said they were stolen about 10 years before. Stolen money orders from the company that it was all from the bank or post office. I can't remember, whatever it was. They were stolen about 10 years before, and they were being used. And so I didn't get scammed, but I heard of other people being scammed that same way. So,
oh, it's interesting.
Yeah. I was lucky enough that I had a little inkling that didn't work. So
yeah, well, and you know what? Like, before you take the money and sign, and really the big thing too here is everything's got to check out before you give the keys. The keys, that possession is your, it's your saving grace, it's your leverage, and once you do give that up, you want to be, before you do that, you want to be certain that you've done the checks and I's. If there's anything outstanding or something's, that gut feeling's bugging you, that's where you've got to do a little bit more digging.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find, actually, I'll just do it this way. So, this was the one I just actually picked up here in the last month. So I'm pretty excited about this one. So maybe, Donna, hopefully I can teach you something here.
Of course.
So again, if something's bugging you on a call or something like that, you can actually check. It's called a current carrier lookup, and you can look up a phone number and see what telecom it's registered with, what telephone company. So I'm going to do a couple here. I'm going to do, well, here, I just called I can't do that one. It's a 1-800 number. It has to be a 10-digit number. Oh yeah, likely spam. Here's a spam one. Alberta. Yeah, I got this one called today, and it was one of those fake calls. So let's look at this. It's 587-994. 1951. Okay, and then you just got to do this thing so they know that you're a human. SY65. Oh, it'd help if you type it in right. Let me try again. 587 994 1951 CHKH. CHKH. There you go. That should work. Sorry, daily limit has been reached. Oh no. Oh no. My demo when we're doing it live is not working. Let's try this one more time. I think I can make this work.
Yeah.
All right. Third time's a charm. 1951. And we're going to go, let's take a look here. RX
F4.
Yeah. No, I can't even do it live. Okay, well, what it would do is tell you if it's like Rogers Communications, TELUS, Bell Mobility. Then then you know you're working with a legit number. What you'd kind of see here sometimes, if it doesn't look right, is some weird company that you've never heard of before. And then you're like, okay, that's interesting. I'm so bummed I couldn't get this to work for you guys live. I'm gonna try. I don't think it'll work now because it's probably by my IP, but I'm gonna try. No, we'll leave it. That's fine. That's what you get for not practicing your demo before in advance. But yeah, so you can kind of just check a number if it's legit. I had gotten a call for Rogers was offering me a phone, but then the number wasn't even registered to Rogers. Again, it was some weird third-party company that had it registered. So back to you.
Yeah. I've had emails come in that something didn't seem right to me, so or I wasn't sure, and I would check on their email address, and I just kept going further and further in, and you're trying to deal with a major company, maybe American Express or something, and then when you finally get to the end of it, it's Joe Blow-me at yahoo.com. Well,
yeah,
that's it's not actually American Express. Yeah.
No, so I mean, if you use telus.com, if they go .net, something like that, I just wrote that as a comment, so we'll pop it up here. The real domain isn't the .com. It's always the very last one. That's like the one that makes it work when you send it through. So if you see something you recognize, but then they've got something weird on the end, that's an intentional way to make it look fake. Yeah. So, because really, what the technical part is, they see like this could be first name dot last name, or sorry, this is treated as the name of the company, and then this last dot is the actual domain, which is in case not real. You know what? I did have some. Sorry, kids are upstairs pushing the chairs around. I did capture some questions off the Facebook group. I want to take those now, and then let's do that before we forget. There's 2 of them as we're coming up to the end of the hour, and then if you've got questions as well, and we did get a few comments in, and I'm sorry I don't have your name right now. Someone threw a shared emoji, or no, snowman. I've heard of fake landlords calling to see what you'd say. So like that's
yes.
reverse.
That's
I haven't heard of that. So you mean like they would a fake landlord or fake reference check would call a real landlord?
Yeah, so you're a tenant and I'm your buddy, and so I phone your landlord and say, you've applied to my place.
Soft shopping them.
Yeah.
Interesting. And see how you react on the phone if you get angry and stuff. Almost like a prank, but yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, guy's an idiot. Well, then that's when you go back and tell you trouble. That's trouble.
The tenants are testing the land prior to giving the new land your name as a reference. The tenants are testing.
Yeah, they're testing to see what you're going to say. So whether to use it as a reference or not.
Yeah. Oh, that is super interesting.
Yeah. No, I've had that. Yeah.
No, I've not. So that's interesting. Okay.
You might have not known it.
Yeah, let's see here.
if they were good.
Knock this out. Knock this out. Knock this out. Oh yeah, we didn't talk. We can talk about this in the end though. That's fine. I'll come back to that. But here we go. So Prida had a question here, and this was interesting. This was actually a pretty big debate in the Facebook group last week, and I did a bunch of research on this as well, and I answered it in the post. I'm fortunate enough. I know smart people like you, Don. I talked to another eviction specialist down here in Calgary, and what we were talking about is this thing called notice of landlord. It's a legal requirement in the RTA under Section 18. Don't quote me in the subsection, but basically it's giving the tenant a name and a physical address that they can serve you, as they should have that right to serve you with paperwork. It's you can't use a PO box, and I think the best way I've been told the definition so far, just from someone's personal experience, is if you can serve if the notice can be delivered without the use of a postal stamp, then that is a legitimate address to be served at. You can rent mailboxes from a UPS store, so that means someone can walk into the store, deliver the notice, it gets put into your mailbox without a stamp being used. That's considered you being served. But yeah, like a lot of people are talking about, I mean, it had a bunch of comments on there. We're kind of going back and forth that you had to have this notice of landlord inside your lease. And Don, is that a requirement?
Yes, it's a requirement. And actually I have clients who use our addresses for service.
Oh,
yeah. They put it in there, right in their lease. And so if I get served on their behalf, I take it and then let them know.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a good idea. Yeah. It doesn't have to be in your lease though. That was kind of one of the pivotal comments going through this post, was people are arguing that it's your lease is invalid if you don't have a notice of landlord inside your lease, and that's you have to. Yes, it's you have to provide a notice of landlord, but it could be an email, it could be a printout, it could be a sign in the common area of your rental property. It does not need to be part of your lease. That's not a legal requirement, and it does not invalidate your lease if that's the case. They're trying to tell you.
The apartment buildings will have a plate or some sort in the vestibule where it says this is the, usually by the, if you have a, you have to punch in numbers to get inside, it'll be right by that as a rule.
Yeah. And then someone was saying because that there's a difference in expectation of receiving the notice. So when a landlord, and maybe Don, correct me here, how many attempts does a landlord have to make to serve a tenant?
Depending what it is.
Oh.
Yeah, depending what it is. So if it's say a notice of hearing for the RTDRS, that you have to try at least 3 times. They don't have a number, but that's the expectation before you post it. For the King's Bench, it's 1 try and then you can post it. And most of the other best practice is to try and put it in the hand at least once. If not, then post it to the door. So like notice of entry or 14-day notice or any of those.
Okay. Yeah, and I think probably the key takeaway is when you're acting as a landlord, you're acting in a business capacity. And there's a higher expectation that since you've chosen to be in this business, that you know the rules, that you understand your legal obligations, including how to be served. So when a tenant goes to serve you, they don't have to have this multiple attempts to serve you. They can do one and done. And if there's someone at the address that you put down, again, you could put really anyone down, a friend's house, Edmonton Eviction Services, the address, if you've done that. As long as an adult over the age of 18 has received that notice, you've been considered legally served in the eyes of the law. So
that's correct.
It's your responsibility to pick and choose that address appropriately. So
yeah, a lot of that bigger landlords, it's their lawyer firm. I've served on behalf of tenants or whatever to the lawyer for their lawyers. So you can look that up. That's where did I look that up? No.
What
The
was it?
registration. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You get a list to where you get served. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's take this last one here, and we can kind of wrap her up for the night. So need help with the situation. A mom and a daughter would like to be living in a rental property, but the rent would be paid by the mom's sister. Is this situation risky? Who should all be in the rental agreement? The person paying the rent has agreed to for a credit check.
Yeah. So everybody should be on the lease. The mom's sister is co-signer,
Yeah.
and would be that's how you tie her in, and the mom would be on the top part, and the daughter, if it's under 18 or a dependent, would be listed as an occupant. Anybody that's 18 or older that isn't a dependent needs to be on the main part of the lease.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's key here. One, a lot of people were saying I'd probably take a pass. You know what? If you've gone and you've done your credit checks and you're happy with what you see, obviously if their rent's low and they found a co-signer and you've credit checked that third party and they look good credit score, and everything else checks fine, I would be okay with that. In this situation, you know, you've got the mom sister who's willing to take she wants to help out her sister. She's putting her credit on the line, and you know what? Someone says, "Oh, what if there's a falling out between the sisters later on?" That's always a possibility. That's no different than a couple having a falling out. That's no difference than really any other renter. But the key thing is the structure in here is you you do the same due diligence on that co-signer, even though they're not moving to the property, and they're included on the lease. So then that means now all of the adults over the age of 18 you'll have on the lease. Then that's more bank accounts you can go after. If you know push comes to shove and you have to for rent arrears or whatever it might be. That's why they're a co-signer. They're taking on that obligation on behalf of the main tenant.
I had a case not that long ago. It was a dad co-signed for his daughter, I think it was. Anyway, they had a falling out. The daughter was doing things the dad didn't like, which it never happens. But he had phoned the owner and said, "You take me off. She's on her own. I don't care about her anymore." Or whatever, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And so anyway, she didn't pay the rent. He didn't pay the rent. And, they tried to collect the rent from the father, but he wasn't paying. So he brought it to us, and we took it to court. And of course, we listed both the dad and the daughter because they were on the lease. And the dad answered the phone, and he was very upset, and they told the adjudicator that he had told the owner that he wasn't going to be involved anymore. And so when it came to the end, the adjudicator said, "Well, your name's on the lease. You are responsible." And so it ended up that the father was equally responsible for the daughter. So I don't know if they ever paid, but it ended up the judgment was in both their names.
Okay. Someone just asked if they can ask a question before we wrap up, and I said, "Of course."
Sure hope so. Yeah.
Cue it up, and we'll help you out.
Love questions.
Yeah. So this is a good question. So it's probably pretty obvious, but we do have a lot of new people within the Facebook group in the landlord community. I work for a tenant screening company, Single Key. They're one of the main sponsors in the Facebook group when I first was going out and bringing in partnerships, and one thing led to another, and I now do work for them. Do quite enjoy the job, but we have another provider in the industry. We do have some we are a little bit of competitors to each other, which is Front Lobby, obviously in the credit score and credit check inside. But one thing that Front Lobby does that no one else does right now in the industry is they allow you to register debt or rent arrears or unpaid rent as an active trade line on the credit score with Equifax. And why that's so important is this gives you the ability to negatively affect someone's credit score and incentivize them to pay you back, as opposed to using collections and ulterior methods. And the way the process works is once you register this, there is some legal timeline. If you were to register it or do it today and add it on the credit score, you actually have to wait a legal period of time that the legislation deems that rent is now in the arrears, and then you can register the debt, because there is that grace period to paying off bills. So it's something like 45 or 60 days. It does kind of depend here. But once you pass that trade line will then show up on the credit score. And then they're also getting emailed too by Frontline saying, landlord has registered a trade line. It's going to affect your score negatively. To resolve this, please reach out to that landlord to resolve your situation or rectify the problem. And they encourage the tenant to reach out and talk to you and pay you in full, whether that's through e-transfer or whatnot. So question is roaming legal? Rooming legal? Renting out each room to different tenants. It totally is. There's no laws against it. I think does that fall under the Innkeepers Act, or is that still considered RTA?
If the landlord is living in the same unit, then it falls under the Innkeepers Act. If the landlord's living in a different place, then it falls under the RTA. Now, even if the landlord's living in the unit, if the tenant's been there 6 months or more, he can fall under the RTA.
Yeah. Big thing. So this is totally legal. It's one of the active strategies you can do. It does take a lot of work, but it also pays quite well. If you're rooming, you've got the right property close to perhaps post-secondary, or for trades, especially if they're doing their what do you call it when they go back to do their apprenticeship?
Apprentice,
yeah. And they're doing their 10 weeks at state or whatnot. You can do quite well, especially if you got 5 or 6 rooms in the house. What's really important here is so important is you make sure you've got proper insurance. It's quite common by most, I'm gonna call them plain, generic, mainstream home insurance products that do have the coverage for renting it out, because that is considered a higher liability. They usually have a clause saying that you can't rent to more than 3 unrelated parties. In fact, there was a Global News or a CBC article it might have been end of last year, I think it came out, and there's a lady in Calgary having a really hard time getting insurance. So be super aware of what your policy says. If there's any ambiguity, call your mortgage broker, get that clarity, and follow up in writing on what you've been told, and you've got that well documented should there be any trouble coming down. So yeah, it's totally legal, and it's an active strategy that you can do.
Yeah. And then insurance, whenever you're dealing with insurance, be 100% honest, because it'll null and void your, if they catch you in a lie, it's like, oh, sorry, buddy, you're done.
Yeah. They don't have time for that.
Yeah. No time at all.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's fun. This week was focused on its fraud awareness. So we talked about rental ads, how to spot some issues, doing your reference checks, both on the employer and landlord side. Interact email spoofs. Well, if there's any follow-up questions, let us know. Hopefully that really helped people out. There's always a way to mitigate risk in this business, and it just takes a little bit of knowledge and know-how. And hopefully we've shared a bit of those tips today and made your business a little bit better and safer, and keep you in the business longer of being a landlord and providing affordable housing for the people that need it. So awesome. If you guys do need an eviction specialist, there's this gentleman beside me, Don Gray, up by Fort Saskatchewan, Edmonton Eviction Services. They do a great job. They are a sponsor of the community and have been for, how many years have you been sponsoring now, Don? I think we started in 2020, right?
Something like that, yep.
Yeah. So been here for a bit.
Been a while.
It has. Okay. We'll let you guys go.
Had a good time.
You guys have yourself a great night. We'll catch you guys on the next Shoptalk.
Yes.